and that's all I do. I have no concern about it.
Every time I went to answer you, then something happened and I was like, oh,
Right.
missed it. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Feels like a gorgeous day out there today.
Yes. Yeah.
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 I
Okay.
was- yeah. While we're waiting for people, I was going back over that really good email you got from Alan about the
Yes.
municipal trust.
Yeah.
And then I looked on their website for their documents and things, and really helpful. Jennifer, our town clerk, is following up with the AG's office, but there is a little confusion about what it means by submitting the bylaw to them, whether that was the town meeting vote or there's a very thorough charge for the Orleans Trust on the website. So we'll have to be.
Okay. I'll have to look at that.
Yeah, take a look.
Actually, I was going to ask you about this because
There's Mia. Yay. Hi, Mia.
Hi,
Hi. So good to see you.
hi, Mia.
you too.
Yeah. Welcome, Stan.
After town meeting, I kind of wondered what was the, the so to speak legal process of moving from one to the other, what that entails.
All right. Well, we'll talk about it. It's on the agenda, and
Yeah.
Sarah's joining us. Yay. So we
Okay.
will be able to get started in a moment.
Start. Oh. Sorry, too many dogs in my house fighting with each other. Hi, everybody.
Hi, Sarah.
How are you?
Great to have you here. So,
Good to see you. Sorry, it's so dark. I'm going to try to move the other way. Here, let me just get it.
yeah, you want the light in front of you if possible.
Elaine is a Zoom expert. Elaine Zooms constantly for the town. You do a very good job. You always lit beautifully and you can always be heard.
No, thank you.
Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, everyone.
Yeah, great. Okay, everybody's here. Wonderful. It's 10:03. We will call the meeting to order. And the first item on the agenda are Richard's excellent minutes of September 3rd, 2020. He sent them out to all of us. Hope you've had a chance to read them. I'm sure you have. Is there
I
a
moved to approve the minutes. They were great. They're always great.
Yep. Is there a second?
I'll
Good.
second.
Okay. Any more discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes of September 3rd?
Aye.
Aye. Great. Thank you, Richard. Next on the agenda, any bills, Gary? Aside from, we'll talk about rental assistance also.
I'm sorry, do you want me to do, I have two bills.
Yeah, let's do the bills first.
Okay. One is for this, to pay for the phone service that we're using for the quote unquote information line that we have. It's called LPS, and it's a 6-month bill for $127.
So moved.
Second.
Any more discussion about that? We are getting calls and emails. So
Okay, fresh.
it's helpful. It's good.
About the same volume as we've been getting.
A little bit more.
More.
Yeah.
That's good and bad, I guess.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And some of them, I'm really glad we have it, and some of them are really very heart moving.
Yeah.
Do we have any kind of data? I'm just curious on how many of them we've been able to help to some degree.
Well, CDP is kind of keeping, we'll check in with them when we talk
Yeah.
next week, because I know that Kalinda Deegan, who's really monitoring the line, did have a chart she was doing. So we'll check in and make sure we can share that
I
next
was
time.
thinking it would be nice to be able to say like 60% of calls result in, you know, whatever, something
Yeah.
positive.
Yeah.
But it might
A lot
not be
of-
so clean.
A lot of them, some have been for local people needing help with rental assistance. Some are just people wanting to check where they are on a waiting list because, you know, I think people get confused as to what lists are on. So
Sure.
Linda's very, very thoughtful and caring person. So there's some people she's been checking up with every week that have called to try to help get them through the process. So. Okay, so moved and seconded to pay 127 to LPS for our information hotline service. All in favor? Great. Rental assistance.
I move that we pay $1,997 in rental assistance for November. Or I guess, can I make that motion? We have
Sure.
$1,997 to pay.
Sure, you can make
So
that
moved.
Okay.
seconded. Any discussion on rental assistance?
Has there been any change? Anybody on or off?
No.
Yeah,
It has not changed.
Yeah, it would be interesting to know with all the emergency funding that's available, you know, if
Mhm.
the people that are contacting homeless prevention are getting channeled into those funds first, which is really what should, you know, what the intent
Yeah.
of what should be
I was
happening
thinking-
right now.
I
Mia,
think
we,
that the eviction moratorium running out on the 17th,
right.
which is
and
my birthday. Thank you, Charlie Baker.
October
Happy
17th?
birthday.
Yeah.
Mia, we did talk to homeless prevention and their calls and workload are up considerably. And I can't remember the statistic that they gave us, but we can certainly get that. And the other thing in terms of rental assistance is that we are working now to implement the emergency rental assistance program, which I think once we have it up and running, we can send out information. And the big difference there is that it's available to people at 100% of median income, as opposed to rental assistance, which is at 60 or 80, Elaine?
80%.
80%.
Yep.
So more
Thank you.
people potentially will be available. And we don't know the long-term impact yet because of all of the programs, and it's still the summer season. So I think when we get into the depth of winter, it will really, it may
Change.
really come to bear.
Yeah, we have that a little bit further along for more discussion on the agenda. So
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's fine. Nope. So moved and seconded. I don't think we voted yet. All in favor of paying $1,997 for November rental assistance? Aye. Great. Thank you. Next on the agenda is just town meeting results. Yay. Great job, Mia and company.
Thank you.
Very, very well done.
Yeah.
Thank you. I was really, really pleased with how it went. I was very gratified.
I think the day really, I mean, the weather
It was
helped.
perfect, wasn't it?
Yes, it really was.
Spectacular.
Right.
And everyone could hear, and so I went home happy.
Right.
Was
Yeah.
there a lot of discussion? We ended up quarantined because Molly had just arrived from New Orleans. So we were actually in like an in-home quarantine until they got
Oh.
tested. So they didn't get to be there. Was there a lot of discussion or was there just support?
There was certainly no discussion on the Community Preservation Act funding, which all went through, or our trust fund. The discussion on the water was, there was a discussion. You know, Jim Hood and Kurt Felix, I think, handled most of that very well. It passed by the 2/3
I knew it.
needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
There was
no,
a lot of popular support, I thought. A lot of questions, but not a lot of people standing up to say, I don't like this. Just a lot of curiosity and then a lot of support.
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, it
It
just,
looked cool, the meeting outside. I drove by and I was like, we should do this every year.
We might in May. We're already talking about it, depending on obviously the circumstances, but we may very well do it.
Yeah.
And if you want to watch the recording, it's up on the town YouTube channel now. So go look at it. It was very cool.
You put me,
I,
Sorry?
I would say, Sarah, that a citizen tried to reduce school funding by $1, and Harry Takanian used the word pernicious
Oh,
in the most wonderful way I've heard in a very, very, very long time.
you know, I read
And the amendment failed,
about-
thank God.
It was a
but
great moment.
It was a, God, was it wonderful. I wanted to get up and cheer.
People clapped.
You weren't alone, Richard.
Oh, man,
It was pernicious.
it was, but I mean, I went, oh, Christ, what a wonderful word, Harry. God bless you, man. That was great.
Fast.
It was great.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Gary and I were both attending the select board meeting yesterday when Dan Silverman sort of gave his follow-up report, and there were there were comments, and it, really was so positive, and it was interesting to read. I just read in the paper that Truro's outdoor town meeting attracted over 200 people too, even though they had reduced their quorum to 25. So that was.
We thought that we would get a lot of people, and we were right, because people are bored. They were like, this is a fun town thing to do, and we can feel reasonably safe. Let's go.
Yeah. Yep.
I was impressed.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sure a lot of hard work, and
It
you'll
was
be
worth
ready,
it.
ready for May.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda is the Emergency Housing Assistance Program. We were in touch with Homeless Prevention Council about administering it. Gary, would you like to tell everybody where that stands right now?
Sure. It did pass at town meeting, and we're in the process of discussion with HPC to implement it. Right now, we're trying to figure out the best way to manage the money. The way our rental assistance works now is that we actually pay for the rental assistance, we the town. Pay for it, although it is managed by HPC. The emergency, the discussion is whether HPC should pay for it, pay the landlords directly for any rental assistance that is approved. And then the question becomes, do they do that on a reimbursement basis, or do we forward fund? Do we essentially give them some money up front to pay for the program? And there have been some changes in our accounting system, and we also lost the meeting yesterday with CDP that we were going to have about it because of the power failure. So we're hopeful that we can resolve it by next week, or come to some conclusion as to the best way to handle it next week.
Yeah. Bridget, their financial officer, said CDP is supposed to be getting us some information. I think the Brewster program is up and running, so we wanted to know how they had set theirs up, and whether we have to check with town council about ways to do it. So, but I think they said that, yeah, they had 3 different options. In general, I thought, Gary, though, the one thing that was set was the cost to administer per household was like $94 a month.
Right, Elaine, it wouldn't make sense for us to pay a $94 bill per person per month. And so I think in that regard, I think one of the things that we'd like to come up with is either a flat fee for the year and we can true up at the end, or quarterly or something like that.
Yeah.
So that we're not having a lot of small transactions.
Mm-hmm. So hopefully within the next couple of weeks, we'll be able to get that up and running.
Richard, have you heard anything more from the other towns that you were a part of that group? Oh, Richard is muted.
Call for all the town meetings to, for all the town meetings to happen. So
Yeah.
I'll have to check on the next meeting of that. I'll check with Belinda.
I think the town meetings are done, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that when we were at our last meeting, all of that wasn't clear, but it should happen soon now.
That'd be great to find out
Yeah.
so that we can.
Gary, one other thing. When I look at the warrant, the funds for this emergency housing assistance program, it's just a bucket of money, and it hasn't been apportioned for rental assistance and then first, last, and security, and then that deed restricted home mortgage support. Am I correct in that? I mean, we did it in our computations in our head, but not in the language. Is that right?
Right. Richard, a funny thing happened. Dan wanted to combine the emergency assistance and the standard rental assistance into one article to reduce the number of articles.
Right, right.
And we were fine with that. There's no issue with that. But I think as a result, those funds are now commingled, and that what you were talking about is our budget to come up with the number, but I don't know that our expenditure of the funds are limited by anything, and that includes rental assistance and emergency assistance.
Right. All I wanted to say about that was when we were talking with, and this occurred to me after the meeting, when we were talking with HPC, there was talk about the first, last, and security, and that can be a big bill.
Yeah.
And now I know we're saying that these monies have to be accessed after all monies have been exhausted, but my experience with for example, St. Vincent de Paul and Lower Cape is first, last, and security is a classic case where a package is put together with St. Vincent, Lower Cape, and then, somebody else, and then finally this. So I just, in our minds, I don't want to be thinking that we're going to pay the whole first, last, and security. You know what I mean? And I guess I can just, make that known to Hadley, but I'm sure they're aware of that. But anyway, I just wanted to say that out loud.
I'm sorry, Richard, are you saying you would prefer that other organizations, in addition to us, share the cost of first, last, and security?
That actually they be accessed first almost.
Okay.
Because I think part of the thinking in this is that
Richard, we can't hear you. You're cutting out. It's frozen or something. Yeah. Richard,
Richard, if you can hear us, I would leave and rejoin. I don't know if you can hear us.
yeah. Richard, Mia suggests we can't hear you. If you can hear us, you might want to leave the meeting and rejoin.
Maybe we should hold up a piece of paper with.
Your cards.
It's frozen.
Okay, he figured that out. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think the intent of the emergency assistance was really stated to have other assistance used first, and then we would help fill the gap. I'm just not sure there's as much money available from other agencies for first, last, and security. So, okay, let me let Richard in again.
that better.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, We
I'm
can
sorry,
hear-
Richard, I didn't hear what you were saying.
Okay. I guess, Gary, I'm just saying that I hope homeless prevention uses the package approach to first, last, and security as opposed to coming to this fund for the whole thing right away.
Okay.
That's simply put, that's it.
Okay. All right, anything else on the emergency housing assistance program?
Actually, Richard, you prompt me to think about something. Elaine, we ought to like have a quarterly review with HPC or something. Elaine, do we need a new contract with them, or is the existing one that we have sufficient to cover these costs? Cover
The
these?
towns were saying that they were going to amend their contract to include it. So we probably do need a new contract. And I think we're coming up sort of on the timing of another year too. So
So we redo it at the end of the year?
I know originally, I think November 1st.
November.
Was so, I mean, I guess we could ask HPC to draft something for us.
Yeah, maybe we could have a new contract that would cover both.
Yeah, that's, I think, what we want.
Right.
If we could have that for our next meeting, that would probably,
Do you want to do that, or you want me to?
yeah, sure. I can contact Hadley
Okay.
and ask her to do that. Okay, next on the agenda is the buy down subsidy. We did get, is it 185,000 in CPC funds for another buy down. We are hoping that the CDP will get up to speed to be able to help us carry that out, as Karen Sonnenberg did. We had a meeting. Gary and I met with Palinda and Ann at CDP along with Karen Sonnenberg. Primarily, we talked to say the focus was partly the buy down, the down payment assistance, but we also talked about the buy down. And Karen really brought up the fact, and Sarah, you may have real input about this. Is the 185,000 enough? Sarah, did you hear?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Can you guys hear me? Sorry, my house is filled with so many people right now.
Okay.
They're all coming in and out, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
Well, we're talking
mind?
with the CDP and Karen Sonnenberg about the buy down. And
Okay.
Karen was really questioning whether 185,000 is enough in this day and age.
Oh God. Oh God. Yes. Yes. It should be enough. I mean, if it isn't, then we should all, yes, it should be. I mean, right now there's nothing. Right now there's one house on the market under 500,000 in Wellfleet, and it's 475.
Wow.
Which is
That's
about
the least expensive house?
It is the only house. There are a couple of trailers, and then you have a house for 475. But it's not that other things haven't come up. It's just that they're all selling so quickly. They're all under agreement. So if we had, somebody that we had approved for a buy down, they should still be able to find something in the $400,000 range, if not smaller. I mean, I have a little 2-bedroom coming on the market, the one I mentioned last month, and that's in the low 3s. It's year round, it just needs better heat, so there are things, and I would think that you could still buy a home in Wellfleet in a range where if somebody was gifting you $185,000, you should certainly be able to close on something. And I also have to think that the frenetic nature of this market, it just has to shift. It's unsustainable. You know what I mean? And so yes, I think that there will be things that we can find and have another successful buy now.
Okay. And I guess in a way too, the house price is limited by the program. So it's not like there's a huge leap in, we have to figure out what the allowable
That's a good point.
prices are, but that's encouraging. If you think that will work.
They're all selling so quickly, but it's not that we're seeing skyrocketing prices yet. You know what I mean?
They're all selling, oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Mia.
They're all selling really quickly to cash buyers, right? That's the big issue? That people come in with, or not
I mean,
necessarily?
No, not necessarily. They're
Okay,
just all
good.
everything's just selling really quickly with multiple offers on the table, you know, and so people that are obtaining
Okay.
financing are sometimes losing out to cash buyers because when you have 6 and 7 and 8 offers on the table, somebody has cash, you know what I mean? But I
That's
mean,
what
I
I was-
just closed on a
Yeah.
in Eastham for 450 to young people moving here year round from Boston, you know what I mean? And
Okay.
they had a mortgage and, you know, the owners chose them, you know what I mean? So
I was wondering if it was just going to be entirely prohibitive for any buy down because it was going to be financed, you know, necessarily the portion in the middle is probably financed, but that's not the case. They could
I
still
don't think,
find
I
something.
mean, I honestly think there are a lot of people here that also care, you know, people write notes when they buy homes and everybody's not always looking for the same thing. There are people that it means a tremendous amount to sell something to somebody that's going to occupy the home year round. Like that doesn't go away just because the market's so crazy busy, you know what I mean?
Okay, that's
I-
good to know.
We can still do good things. I do believe it.
I got my home in Wellfleet. The price was quite low because I wrote them a letter about how much I loved it and how much I love books, and they love books. And they were like, "This is great."
See, I once sold a home to a local accountant because she promised to do free tax returns for the owner for 3 years.
There you go.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, but I also wanted to clarify one thing or ask Elaine. The actual grant would be 175,000. Is I think the max on the program right now. That the difference between that and the 185 is the administrative costs we have. You know, the inspection and the legal fees and the cost to administer the program, which
Yeah,
we still have a requirement to do fair housing, which is very expensive in terms of advertising.
right.
So we could, Elaine, if you want, something to consider at a future date is to use the whole 185 up the maximum grant and take the administrative costs out of other funds.
And we could take that out of the trust fund. Or,
Right, and I think we have some money left over from prior buy downs. So
it does feel like, okay, yeah,
it's
yeah.
just one strategy we might consider down the line.
right.
But Sarah, I had two questions. Is the mortgage rate bringing more people into the market? Is it staying low?
It's so low right now. 30-year fixed rate loans are still just under 3%, which means that just your monthly payments are just so much lower than they would have been, you know? So that, I mean, that's enormously encouraging for a year-round person in terms of what they could qualify for because and I think they'll stay low for a time. And I also hope that we see a correction here. You know what I mean? Like I'm hoping that this sort of, all these multiple offers and stuff, I can't imagine that that's, you know, that it'll have to come back down again. It'll have
You think has the frenzy reduced now? Are you less busy now than you were 2 months ago?
It's hard to say. I sort of started just not taking on any more business because I just felt like I couldn't do a good job. You know what I mean? So I might not be the best person to judge because I literally just was like, I can't do any more and do it well. So but I've spoken to other people. It seems that it's easing a bit, but it's not sort of still in balance is I guess what I would say. You know, balance is when, you know, you put something on the market and it'll sell in 2 to 3 months and you have a opportunity to make a nice match between a buyer and a seller. And that's not the market we're in right now. It's still far more competitive than that.
I think they're panic buying houses, like they panic bought toilet paper in April, and it will, and it will calm
There was
down.
an article in Vanity Fair saying second for the new toilet paper.
A slightly different price point, though.
Well, it's a different.
It's the same impulse. I'm scared and I want to hold on to it. And then in a year or 2 years, when it's relatively back to normal, people will be like, I don't want to live in the middle of nowhere with nothing to do in December. I'm going to go back and think it will ease out.
That's what I'm saying. We can't maintain this level. It feels unnatural. It doesn't feel, it feels like panic buying. It does,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
It
So
is.
it can't sustain it, and we'll all still be here, hopefully, you know, as it comes back to balance.
What's interesting, just as a side observation, it's crazy busy in town
Yeah.
still, and usually by now, you know, it will have calmed down, but it doesn't seem to be, and especially with no Oyster Fest, and it
No.
just seems to keep going.
It's great for the local businesses that
Yeah.
didn't get a season in the spring. I'm really happy
Yeah.
for them. Not happy with the traffic, but it's great for the businesses and the retail and the restaurants, rather, as long as they have help.
Especially if it's a long winter.
Yeah.
For people, it's going to be probably a tough.
Yep.
So when
But
would what's the time frame for the next buy down?
Well, you know, because we're transferring the administration, we have some details to work out, and excuse me. And you know, because of the fair housing marketing, that's a huge part of it. Gary, did we talk about a time frame with?
I thought we talked about after the holidays, January-ish.
Yeah.
January, February.
Yeah, announcing it, you know, right after the holidays, I guess.
Yeah, or maybe right at the time of the holidays, and
Yeah. Get a new house for Christmas. Whatever. Yeah, so that's
A
what
big bow on it.
yeah. That's what we're working towards. Yep. Okay, next is CPC grant application. There is another round for the Springtown meeting, and the deadline is October 15th. And Gary and I both sort of had the same thought that we should ask for a sizable chunk of money, $500,000, to go into our new trust fund. And the initial thinking was to earmark it in the request for issues at 95 Lawrence Road, possibly wastewater or energy efficiency. I wrote a draft. I apologize, I didn't send it to everybody with that focus. So some discussion on that. I was disheartened. I read in the Independent this morning about the criticism of putting money into the Truro Trust Fund because people thought it was going to be used for Cloverleaf, and the opponents of that were very vocal. Although it all passed, it did go through. So I'm wondering if we should put that focus on our grant, if you agree we should submit a grant for that much money, and if it should be just more general, because you can put trust fund money, you can put CPC monies into trust funds for general purposes.
I'm not as well informed maybe, but I don't think there's the same opposition in Wellfleet to 95 Lawrence that there is in Truro to the Cloverleaf, as far as I can tell. There was a lot of popular support at town meeting for the water main in regard as it related to 95 Lawrence. Like, people were standing up and speaking for it and clapping. And I think that if we did sort of say that we were going to use some of that money for it, I don't think there would be an outcry, although I could be wrong. I don't know that much about Truro.
You know, the time frame is interesting because, you know, if we got the money, if we can keep moving ahead on schedule now, the optimum time now for issuing the RFP is late February, early March, and selecting a developer in June. And then they start applying for their funding in December. So, you know, the money would be sitting there to be used as needed.
But Elaine, that's a plus. The fact that we have the new trust fund gives us the flexibility, correct? I mean, once the money is in there, there's not the stranglehold on it that we had with the old trust fund. But what I hear you saying is to highlight 95 Lawrence Road in the grant application. Is that right?
That was the intent. That's the intent when Gary and I talked about it. I'm just wondering if we need to be that specific. I mean, we're gonna, the town should contribute something to 95 Lawrence at some point along the way, definitely, because
Right.
the developer is going to be seeking, $20 million, and that will be provided by other sources. But we have seen in Truro, toward the end of the project, they needed several $100,000 to get over the mark. And that's where the
Right.
town stepped in. So I'm just wondering about the philosophy of asking for it, how we want to do that.
We could make it more generic, Elaine, and say for the support of 95 Lawrence without designating it, or not designated is the wrong word, without suggesting it's for wastewater and energy efficiency. My only thought on the other side is, in terms of Cloverleaf, those are the two big issues that people seem to have concerns about, is wastewater and drinking water, the impact of that project. So would this allay fears about it, number one? The other reality is that the town, and we'll talk about this later, is, the town is trying to decide what the best way to do wastewater in that area is. And this can only support the people who want, a more vigorous, whether it's wastewater treatment or alternative septic or whatever it may be, a more vigorous approach. So I don't think we lose anything by saying that it could be used for wastewater and energy efficiency. And frankly, it's the right thing to do for the town. I mean, if we can make it more energy efficient, both for the residents and for the town, that would be good. And if we can make it better in terms of wastewater, that would be good.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a good thing. The other thing, Elaine, I know we didn't send it out, but I think given the timing, unless we're going to have another meeting, we would have to actually pass some type of approval to submit today.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I can certainly call up I can share screen share, or we can vote to approve a CPC request of $500,000 to go into the trust fund for the purposes of support of 95 Lawrence Road.
Yeah.
So moved.
Sounds great.
Seconded.
Any more discussion? I'm just wondering if making it more general would help us with other things along the way. Because we will have, I don't think this would be the last request we might make for 95 Lawrence. I would think that the next year we'll come back possibly with some more. But
I don't think we have a lot to lose either way, so I trust your judgment. If you want to make it more general, then let's do that. I don't think that will count against us.
I don't either.
Elaine's thinking. I can see the gears whirring.
yeah, let me see if I can call up let me see if I can screen share just the first. That's Arlene.
Well, Elaine is looking at that. Sarah, are you at the point now where we could relook at the town-owned land lots?
Yeah.
Maybe we could restart that effort now that it's October.
That would be great. I'd love to do that.
Okay, I'll reach out to you and we'll.
Try to find the time to look at them preliminarily, and then we should get together. Or
Yeah, exactly. I'll send you an email or something, or we could just meet at the pond or
that's
the
true.
beach. Or
It was so beautiful out there, wasn't it?
it was.
Story.
Okay, I
Very
don't know.
nice paddle boarding,
Yeah.
boating.
Oh.
Oh, there it is.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I titled the grant support for 95 Lawrence Road housing. And maybe this is the way to definitely get the ball rolling in people's minds too. So this one, that first paragraph really is the
Well, and Elaine, it looks like you just said to be used for support of the whole project, even though you earmarked the wastewater and, you know what I mean?
Right, yeah, I said to support essential elements such as, or, or something like that. Yeah. Could use as such as, or, yeah, it's true. I mean, we identify wastewater and energy efficiency in the grant, but I don't think if it's for, support, any kind of support for Lawrence Road, that's fine.
And this is taken right from the RFP, right, Elaine? Looks very familiar.
Nope.
The description? No?
No,
But anyway, all I'm saying is that it's supportive of what the intent of the RFP is.
yeah, yeah. Yep. So, so this was into the discussion of the moved and seconded. Any more discussion about, shall we, we're looking at going forward with this
Elaine,
focus.
this becomes then these monies exclusively for 95 Lawrence Road.
Right, yeah.
Okay, just so there's no, okay.
Yeah, I mean, the other would be for general support of affordable housing, including support of Lawrence Road. That would be a little more open. But I think, this is our big one.
All right, let's go for it.
I think if it were more like this, Elaine, that you have it, it's more attractive to the CPC membership too.
The way it stands right now.
Right. I think that as opposed to a generic ask,
Mm-hmm.
one that has some purpose to it would be more receptive.
Okay. All righty. All right, so moved and seconded. Richard, do you have the motion?
I have a motion to apply for CPC funds in the amount of $500,000 in support of 95 Lawrence Road.
Okay. Any more discussion? All in favor? Aye. Great.
Thank you, Elaine and Richard.
Yep. So let's, the next on the agenda is the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund that was approved to adopt the new one at town meeting. It does involve setting up a new board, a separate board. This is a town fund now, the Municipal Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And members are appointed by the select board, and one member does have to be from the select board. Richard has been in contact with Alan McLennan, who is on the Orleans Select Board and is also a member of the trust.
He's no longer on the Orleans Select Board.
That's right, he's no longer on the
But when he
select board.
became a member of the trust, no, he wasn't when he became a member of the trust, but he had been for a long time, so.
Right, now he's a citizen member, he said, and he gave a lot of good suggestions for what the composition of the board should be. And although they're appointed by the select board, I think it would behoove us to make some recommendations in approaching them to set up the trust. Alan said that their membership included, they had 7 members and they enlarged it to 9, which seems like a lot to me. I kind of think 7. Their charge on the Town of Orleans website, if you look up the Affordable Housing Trust, they have a very detailed charge, which we really should all look at to become familiar with the, what really goes on with this. And I think they said the charge can be 5 to 11 members, or 5 to 9 members.
They have great diversity on their board. They have a couple of young working parents, and they have business people, and they have some older people, and they work really well together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he had one select board member, citizen members, a lawyer, an architect, a contractor, someone skilled at fundraising and philanthropy, and their housing people and some young people. So I think it would be great for us to throw out some names of people that we think would be good to put forward as we work to set this up. Something has to be approved by the AG's office, but we were told at the same time we can start the informal process of setting it up.
But isn't it the select board that actually sets it up, or?
They appoint.
But we should make recommendations based on what we feel to be valuable, right?
Yeah, we're going to have to bring this back to the town administrator and the select board to get it set up.
Okay,
But I do think that, you know, having some suggestions for membership could be helpful.
I think we should ask Ryan Curley to be our select board member of the board if he's interested. He has fewer duties than the chair, so maybe his time's a little more open, and he's a young person and he's very interested in the topic of affordable housing, and I found him to be a very helpful communicator. So I would say that we ask him.
Okay, do we know any lawyers we'd like to ask?
Do you think Bruce Bierhans has time to do this?
She does so much.
I
Yeah.
know.
But we could ask.
Let's ask him, but if not, maybe he can recommend somebody for us.
Yeah.
I don't know any lawyers out here besides him.
Yeah, well, there's Harry Turkanian, if he would be willing.
yeah.
Yeah, he's also one who gets asked to do everything. So we'll give them who has more time.
Right. There's probably other lawyers in town that we
I
don't
was
know.
gonna say, are there any young lawyers that have moved into town and that?
Probably.
How about Donna Robertson? She's lived in town forever, and she's Donna Robertson. She's wonderful. I could ask her. I mean, she lives here in Wells.
Right. Yeah. 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 Other thoughts? Architect, contractor, fundraising from housing. You know, who would like to? We could have one person from the Housing Authority and one from the partnership. I think the first year, some people are appointed only for 1 year and can be reappointed. And the way Orleans did it, and it may be the way the general law is set up, it's a 2-year appointment. So it's not, you know, things can turn over.
Okay.
Is Jay Horowitz already on the local housing or 95 Lawrence Road Task Force?
Who?
Jay
Yeah.
Horowitz?
Yeah, he's on the 95 Lawrence Task Force. Excuse me. Well, it's going to take a while to do this, so let's be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Elaine,
Yeah.
I know you're looking to reach out to the town administrator. Maybe you could put this on the agenda of discussion items, because it's not really our committee. We can
Right.
make recommendations, but it's the town's committee, and you know, they may have other thoughts on this.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense. We have to start that process of having the town.
Yeah, and maybe we should check with town council about it.
Well, I think that charge that I see on the Orleans one, it definitely has to come somehow through the work of town council.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I will put that on the agenda of hopefully getting together with our new TA, Maria Broadbent, about some other issues too.
Elaine,
Yeah.
I will also, if this is okay with everybody, I'll also contact Alan again
Yeah.
and ask him if he'd be available for any informal conversations about this. If only from the perspective, if we run into something where we want to, clarify what they did, avoid, bumps in the road, that kind of thing. And I'm sure he'll be, well, I hope he'll be positive in his response.
I'm sure he will be. I mean, I'd love to know if he could remember the process of how they actually set it up and who did the work, with the,
I'll ask him. Why don't I do that?
yeah. Because it was interesting. I know that MHP has a whole booklet on setting up a trust. So I thought I would contact them too.
Okay. Well, I'll be in touch with you and we'll figure that out. Okay. Thank
Alrighty. Okay. So next on the agenda is the Lawrence Road project updates. Water the water votes allow us to move ahead. The wastewater report that we had done under a grant has generated a lot of discussion in the town. And the select board has asked the wastewater committee for a recommendation on 3 scenarios. And as far as I know, tonight at the wastewater committee meeting at 5 tonight, it's a joint meeting with the task force to discuss. I don't know if they have if they've made the recommendation, if they have a recommendation yet, or it's going to be a more general discussion about all the possibilities. So if you are interested in that discussion, on the town website, you can access the meeting info. Of course, if it's anything more than the IA system, which we currently have in the RFP, it will be an expense that cannot be put on a developer. It will have to be a town plan and decision on how to do that. Yesterday afternoon at the select board meeting, they did approve the body of the RFP except for the wastewater component, and they want to see the land disposition agreement and the ground lease. And also in discussion with Laura Schufelt, we found that we've really kind of missed the deadline this year for getting it out and having developers pay attention to it and allow them to get in on this funding round. So the next optimal time is getting it out, being really ready in late February, getting it out in early March. So there is time for the town to deal with this. Gary, anything else?
Elaine, I just looked on the town website to see if it's posted, and I don't see anything.
I looked this morning and I saw it
So
for 5 o'clock today.
for 5 o'clock today, October 1st.
Mhm.
Um,
Are you looking at?
Definitely looking at the month of October, Gary.
yes, October 1st.
I see it on the October town calendar, wastewater committee and 95 Lawrence Road task force.
Oh, you have
The
to hit.
full-
Uh,
Yeah, you have to expand the calendar.
You have to expand the calendar, you're right.
Yeah.
Okay, so it is on for 5 o'clock, as far as we know. Elaine,
Mhm.
there was an executive summary done, question mark?
Yes,
And do we have the executive summary?
I did send it out to the task force. I'll send it to you again.
Yeah, if you could send it to the members, that'd be,
Yeah, I will. I'll send that to everybody.
so that people can, because the report itself is, complex. I
Right,
mean, the issue is highly complex, but
right. We're assuming the 3 alternatives that the wastewater
Like what?
committee.
that was my question is, what are the 3 alternatives?
Yeah, I mean, the 3 given in the study were the innovative alternative system, a wastewater treatment plant, I don't think you call it a wastewater treatment system that would serve the development and the town buildings in the area, the school, the fire, and the police station. And then the third option was a system that would not only serve the development and the municipal buildings, but could include abutters. The costs for the IA system are anywhere from $800,000 up to the big treatment thing, which is almost $5 million. The interest in the bigger system is to remove nitrates as opposed to just limiting them, and for the Duck Creek watershed that is affected. So it seems like people in the town feel that potentially doing that larger system would be a huge benefit to the town. There's a 208 plan that gets mentioned a lot. It would help meet some of the really important requirements on protecting that watershed and reducing nitrogen.
Could you explain the 208 plan?
No, I cannot.
Or can any of our members? Yeah.
Watch the meetings. They're all on YouTube.
Yeah.
They're informative. I can't say I understand them, but I've recorded them.
Yeah. So this is a big issue. I mean, the RFP can't go out just saying we want this big system and we don't know how we're going to pay for it. So, but with the delay that we have, there is time for the town to potentially, if that's the chosen option, to come up with a plan, which would hopefully then be worked into the RFP. So that's an ongoing discussion. And I will send everybody the executive summary. I'm happy to send you the whole report too. It's quite detailed. So anything more on Lawrence Road? Still moving forward. That's the good part. Okay, and project updates, I did just want to mention, we mentioned it before, that Habitat has given the town of Wellfleet their Community Partner Award. They're doing that at their annual meeting today, a Zoom meeting at 4 o'clock. If any of you would like the Zoom link to join that, let me know, I'll send it to you. Hopefully Michael DeVasto will be attending and will officially accept the award. So that's really a lovely thing. And other project updates, we're in Freeman, we talked about Freeman Ave, we talked about looking for other properties, that was just brought up again. I just noticed that one of the lots at the Sam Hollow development just was reduced from $299 to $199. And I'm wondering if that's the lot that abuts our development, our Habitat development, and the boutique hotel, and why the price was dropped. Do you know anything about that, Sarah?
I do actually. So that actually it wasn't dropped. We didn't have it listed before. So I'm actually the listing agent on all those properties.
Oh.
And that one, I think we just sort of felt like it was the least private. It does abut the Habitat property and also the hotel. And it also sits on a curve of the road where you're going to see have headlights coming in every time anyone goes down the road. So I think the owner was just motivated to sell one, and they had been on the market a long time at prices that were kind of unrealistic. So we priced them all much lower than they had been.
Mm-hmm.
And then he came to me last week and said, we want to price one to move. And so we just listed it under 200,000, just thinking somebody will buy it right away. We're hoping.
Oh, I was wondering if we should.
I know, what, I had that thought when we listed it, but there's so many restrictions because it's a private subdivision. Like there's minimum house size, and there's, you have to build a garage, and it has to be Cape style, and it has to, you know what I mean? Because I had that same thought actually, but So certainly I can send you the plans and the subdivision covenants and you can look at them and see what you think.
Because I'm just thinking, if we're spending 175, 185 for a buy down, if we spent a similar amount to purchase land that we could then put out to developer, where, we're in a ballpark of what we are spending to get people into home ownership. That's why I'm thinking if the trust fund, if we can keep building that trust fund,
I think it's
if
great.
we're not finding any more town
We
land.
might want to be outside of a subdivision, you know what I mean? Just because I feel like it's easier not to have to navigate not just the town, but also the specific covenants. But I can send them to everybody if you want to take a look at what they look like. They're fairly typical.
Mhm.
Have they not been selling, Sarah?
They haven't been selling. They were on the market for, I want to say about a year, but they were priced up at about 300,000, which is just, it's unrealistic for, really, I'd like to be able to tell you something hopeful. Land values are not that high in Wellfleet. You know what I mean? Now, the counter to that is it's because.
I have to take an
building is-
emergency call. I'm going to leave the meeting and come back, okay? Sorry.
Bye,
Okay.
Mia.
Bye, Mia. It's because building's so expensive. So that's the
Yeah.
counter side to it. But I think they're priced sort of where they should be now in the from 200 to 250, which is probably about right for an acre of land on the ocean side of Wellfleet,
Mhm. Well, I hope some wonderful young person or family can buy
I
it.
hope so too, you know what I mean? The housing prices are so expensive and the frenzy that we've seen on homes hasn't translated to land because it is sort of what you're talking about, that panic thing where everybody just wants to be here and a piece of land doesn't allow you to do that. But I would love to see somebody, buy it and be able to stay there. It's a price where you're right, Elaine, the value's better in some ways, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on any other projects? It's a lot going on. Yeah. All right, if we keep on our schedule, our next meeting will be Thursday, November 5th. Is 10 o'clock still working for people? We could do earlier, like we used to do regularly, but seems to be.
Anything fine. I actually checked in at 9 o'clock today. I don't know what was wrong with me. And then I was like,
Habit.
yeah, 10's great,
Okay.
everybody.
Right.
Okay, well, that's all I have. So thank you all very much. And stay well,
You too.
and we'll see you next month.
Nice to
Nice.
see everybody.
Yeah.
Take care. Stay healthy.
You
Yeah.
too,
Great.
Gary.
Take a look at that land list this week.
Okay, and I'll be back to you and we'll set up a time to get together.
That sounds perfect.
Great. Thank you so much.
Elaine?
Sarah. Take care.
Elaine and I will talk to you about connecting with Alan, okay?
Mhm.
All right, well, I'll be in touch.
Okay,
All righty,
all
thank
right.
you.
One.
Bye.
So long, bye-bye.